Well, hello, wealthy women. It is Coach Tamara here, bringing you another beautiful and inspiring success story interview. So, today you will be very interested in learning about this amazing woman and what she does and why she does it and how she can help you. So, before I say anything else, I'm just going to pass the mic over. Can you tell us your name, the name of your business, what you do and why you do it? And yeah, let's get started here.
Hi, I'm Sam Ritchie, and the name of my business is Sam Angel Guide. And so all of my social medias, Sam Angel Guide. So it's really simple. Um, I like simple.
Yes.
So basically, I've always been able to see spirit. So I've always been able to see what most people can't see, and which led to some challenges during childhood because I was much more comfortable with them than I was with humans. Um, but I pushed that away until 2022, more or less of a degree. And then lockdown happened, and suddenly had loads of time on my hands because I was a cook in a bar, and the bar was shut.
Mhm.
So I took that opportunity to grow my spiritual muscle and really throw myself into it. So I studied with Kyle Gray and started reading oracle cards for people. I did a lot for free, hundreds for free. And then people wanted to pay me. I was like, hang on a minute. Hang on. I could actually make a living. I could feed my family doing what I love to do. So I created a website, and I've been space clearing for 25 years on and off, which is space clearing is removing negative entities and energies from a property. So if you think of a time when you've walked into a place and you really don't like it, it could be the most amazing building, but you really don't feel comfortable there. Or on the other hand, you walk into a place and it can be untidy, but you just feel at home. You're picking up the energy, you're feeling the energy of the property. And so it's also like the building's a piece of clay. So the biggest handprint in a piece of clay leaves the biggest imprint. And energetically, that happens to properties as well. So if there's been a lot of torment, oh, I can't say the word, lots of upset, then that is going to leave the biggest mark and make us feel uncomfortable when we enter places. So what space clearing does is remove that and enhance the positive so that we feel comfortable in the property. And it also helps to sell properties quicker. Areas of the house that people haven't been able to go in, they can. Animals are great at telling you when you need to space clear because they just will not go into a space that's got an entity. Um, and it helps with sleep, you name it, it helps with it. And so I thought this would be a really small part of my business because I have to go there in person. I live in rural Spain. And then a friend asked me if I'd space cleared their holiday home in Spain. Oh, 10 years before, totally forgotten I'd done it. That was before I had a business. And she said, Sam, I've got this big problem with a property that was my grandparents' home. I rent it out and it needs essential maintenance work, but the tenants will not let me in. Can you space clear from a floor plan and an address? And I said, I have no idea whether I can do that or not, but I'll have a go. So she sent me the plans. I followed my intuition. I redrew the plans. As I was redrawing the plans, uh, information started to land, including her grandparents' names. And so I was like, I can do this then. But what was really good was within 24 hours, and it wasn't even 24 hours, the tenants had given her access and agreed to the maintenance work being done. So I was like, hmm, okay, clearly I can do this. Clearly now location's no obstacle to me doing this work. Well, I do it, but well, they do the work. They just need a human body. Right. And so that's what I've been doing. And then I wrote a book, Echoes Within Walls, which is the case studies. And I'm on a mission to get space clearing known about and to get people to do it for themselves. Now, everyone can space clear and everyone should space clear, in my opinion. The only time you shouldn't is if you're worried about what you might find or if you've got mental health problems. They're the only two times that you shouldn't be doing this. Most people will not see what I see, but that's fine. It's still working. So yeah, I'm on a mission to bring space clearing to the masses, if you like, so that they can clear the energy. Because right now, the world we live is such a negative place. If we can remove as much of it as possible, it has a ripple effect and it will help to raise the vibration of the whole planet and everyone in it. So that's my mission. Just a small thing.
And what is your website one more time so people can check that all out?
So yeah, it's samangelguide.com.
Okay, so this is probably very like a topic that most people don't really probably come into conversation with. I do know a lot of women feel very understanding of the concept of energy. I think that we all get that, especially when we relate it, for example, like when we're meeting a person, not necessarily a property or right, a space,
Yeah.
but like a person or maybe a client. One client, you just feel like, I can't wait to work with them. Or another one, signs up and, you all of a sudden the energy shift feels off. Is is the work that you do also able to help people with the different parts of that experience in life, different types of experiences?
Yeah, especially if they're having clients come to their home. Okay, so we all leave energy behind, right? So if you're running a business for, well, any space actually, uh, you want to be clearing that regularly. I work with a hotel and I work with an industrial plant on a very regular basis, well, monthly actually, to clear the energy because there's so many people coming in and out, dropping bits of their energy without even knowing they're doing it, right? So it's not a conscious thing that we're all going around leaving bits of our energy everywhere, but we do. We leave the mood, if you like, that we're in. We have an energetic imprint on that building. So if we're upset, then the building sucks up some of that. And if we're cross or angry, it sucks up some of that. If we think back, we even say if you walk into a room where there's been an argument, you can cut the atmosphere with a knife, right?
Right.
So,
It's
so
yeah,
it's important that if you're running a business that you do it. And the first step to space clearing is to protect your own energy. And on my website and on my YouTube channel, there's a free meditation that help you do that. Now I do it multiple times a day, but if you're sensing people's energy, well, actually everyone should be doing this. I do it in the shower, right? If you do it in the shower, it takes no more time than showering. so, so it's a really good way of making it a habit. So as you're washing your hair, you cut the cords and then you put yourself in a bubble of protection. So yeah, that would really help those people to deal with all clients, whether they're good or bad.
yeah, I love this topic of energy because I think there's so when you think about it, like what you were saying, you can maybe you're been invited to a dinner party and by a husband and wife, let's say, and you're so excited, and all of a sudden, and they had the little tiff before you got there, and you can feel that tension. I mean, that is energy, and it definitely throws the whole, you know, way of relating with each other off, right? And you can walk out of it and almost feel like icky, like, wow, I got to get that off me. I just feel, or you can, it's almost contagious too, right? Let's say you're having a great day and someone comes along and they're just, for whatever reason, they're complaining so much, and you have your empathy going on and you're trying to be, you know, empathetic, but it's just too much. And by the end of it, you find that you're complaining, or you know, and you get into a spin. And so I think it's important that, you know, when we talk, to make it really relatable to the everyday experience, which is what is happening. It is energy. It's the same thing where you have like personal energy, right? You might wake up one day and think, oh, I can take on the world today. I have so much power. I've succeeded in this, and you're on fire. And then maybe 3 days later, you almost like, oh my God, I can't do anything right. I mean, and your energy follows that mood. And you know, you are correct. There are certain, like, pets and children, I think, really can pick up on energies, because you either have pets coming and wrapping around your leg wanting to be pet, or they're just not going near somebody if they're feeling off about that. So even though we can't see it, even though it's hard maybe to explain it, and even though it can sound very woo woo and like, okay, this is too strange of a topic to even get into, you know, it's really there, even on your own personal energy level, which has nothing to do even with the outside forces, right? So I guess because, you know, we're focused on women building beautiful businesses and lives, can you give some you know, helpful tips for the, you know, the daily day, really, where they might come into things that they could kind of set themselves up for success, sort of like what you were just saying. You do this activity in the shower, you put your bubble on and protection, you clear any negative energy, and you just get on with it again. But maybe how can they relate this maybe to building their business? Maybe some more practical things they should pay attention, and ways to make sure that they're coming out in a real positive placement for themselves going forward.
Yeah, so when I first space cleared my house, I'd we'd moved home and I knew there was no entities there, but it just felt off. And probably the bedroom that was painted black wasn't helping. And I met this woman and she said, oh, you want to space clear your home? And I was like, well, I don't know what that is. And it was before Google was really a thing. And so I was like, okay, so how do I do that? And so I literally started with clapping and a joss stick. And all of this information came up about the property and the past, which most of it was quite unpleasant. But we then were able to stay there for a number of years happily. So it doesn't matter how you do it. It's the intention is key. Now I know more, I always protect my energy, and I would encourage everyone to do that. And I would encourage you to do that, even if you think, yeah, I don't need space to clean my house. That's fine, whatever, right? But protect your energy anyway, whenever you meet someone.
I like this. So maybe I'll ask you a couple questions then. So if someone is having an online business and they want to be successful at it, and maybe they just, you know, woke up in a funky mood for, and there's no one even to blame, it just happened, what is a way that they can kind of get out of their funk of negative energy, so to speak, so that they can have a productive day?
Okay, so showering with salt really helps because that just clears your aura, clears your energy. You can use joss stick, Palo Santo, sage in your auric space, just go around your head. That really works. And if my daughter wakes up in a funk, she always says to me, Mum, can you sage me? Right? She's 23, but she still says, Mum, can you sage me? Um, and using bells or singing bowls as well, just to like get it off of you. right?
Okay, kind of like snap out of it. And
Yeah.
then what about if, for example, let's just use a situation where a group of friends decide to get together, they're excited to spend some time together, and then maybe one in the group is dominating with negative conversation, and you could tell it's bringing the mood down. The person doesn't want to leave because it would be rude. How can they protect their energy maybe when, a conversation amongst friends just starts to take a negative dive? Maybe they start talking about certain things in the news that nobody wants to hear about and they just want to have fun, but there's this one person. How can they protect their energy in like a situation like that where they can't just say, hey, be quiet, or something like
Okay.
that? Or
Well, you can go to the loo, right? Imagine, do the protection. It's like a meditation, but you can do it quickly, right? So sit in the loo and imagine that Archangel Michael is cutting all of the cords that are tying you to the situation. Call in Archangel Metatron with his magenta light and his sacred geometry to clear your space and the space you are in. And then put yourself in a bubble of protection. So thank you, universe, for putting me in a bubble of protection so that this situation does not affect me.
love
Because
this.
you can't change the other person because
Yeah.
we've all got free will, right?
Yes, yes.
So you can't change the other person.
And it's kind of like, we're responsible for our reactions, right? And what we allow in. So in one way we can, really keep it very pragmatic, or we can get really like creative with this idea. Basically, being, and I imagine, you have to be very self-aware of your own energies when you know your normal homeostasis and when you're completely off. And when okay, wow, I didn't even realize it, I'm really feeling off, let me snap out of it, so to speak. And like you said, you could say some kind of mantra or prayer, or clap your hands, or move, or something to change, just get out of that stagnant energy and move and shift it, and just make sure that you're taking care of your own positive energies. And I think that relating to business, this is very important because there's a lot of parts of women running their businesses that can start to feel, can throw them off their power, right? Maybe they get overwhelmed by tech and it just shifts the day, or maybe they had an important interview. This has happened to me multiple times where the internet got knocked out and I feel like, oh my goodness, I'm not professional now. This person was counting on me and there's no way I can change it. And this can shift your whole day. And I think we have to really you know put ourselves in the position of that we are responsible and very capable of snapping out of a negative and getting back into a proactive place. It can even be when you think about like health and wellness, right? If someone's, let's say, trying to lose weight and they've been eating healthy for 12 days straight and they're so proud of themselves, they're seeing some results, they're getting great, and then they have a weekend with a friend and it's just all lost, and they choose to say, forget about it, I'm never going to be able to do this, and then they wind up 3 months into not getting back on track, and then it's even worse. You can also just say, okay, I had a bad day, I'm going to get back into positive energy again and start again fresh tomorrow, and not let 3 months go by. So I think it is really, the energy is really in support of our success in all parts of our life, and that we do have power and control over ourselves and outside situations, whatever they are.
Yeah, we do because we control ourselves. So, yeah, and having negative days is okay. Just don't live there. We're all
Yes, don't live there. I love that. I love that. Well,
we're all having
okay.
a human we're all having a human experience, right?
Exactly.
There's going to be
Exactly.
moments when you're trying to do something on the computer and it just won't play, and
Yes.
it is really annoying. Tech is really annoying.
Yes.
When it works, it's amazing. When it doesn't, it's like
I think one of the great things about this conversation is that it makes us start to say, oh, wow, I should really start paying attention to energy. Maybe I've heard of it, I believe in it, I can feel it sometimes, but I'm not really fully aware of it all the time, maybe I'll plug into that a little bit more. And then you start to kind of see, maybe you look outside and see yourself how you're experiencing something. And then you can create some boundaries. Maybe you're just such a nice person. You're trying to be so nice to someone you just met, and you forget to ask yourself, is this a good fit for me? And you're caught up in just being a nice person that you forget to ask yourself, is this good for me? And I think that when you start to pay attention to your energy, your natural responses to things, they're a guiding light really to what you should, focus on more or focus on less. And then therein creates a lot of the boundaries we need that are very helpful so we can stay in our lane, so to speak, and because we choose the lane we want to be in. So if we're going for success in anything, we want to be really aware not to be taken out of that success lane from energy that doesn't serve us, right? And so I think the conversation of energy is really important because it's absolute thing, even though you can't see it or touch it or put it in a pretty box and, call it, label it, so to speak. We all have enough experiences going through life to kind of get a sense that,
Yeah.
okay, there is something more here. So love it. Okay, I'm going to switch over now and ask you now some success questions about your journey to creating your business. So let me get started with that. So, okay. A lot of my women I speak to, they love morning rituals. So do you have a specific morning ritual that really just sets you up for energetic success, let's say?
Yeah. The first thing I do is have a cup of tea, right? Because when I wake up, my mind is going 300 miles an hour. So I just have a cup of tea, I let it do its thing, and then I journal. And
Mm,
I just journal. Sometimes I journal what I did the day before. Sometimes I journal my feelings. And I always start with yesterday was a good day, right? Because yesterday, if you look at it, normally was a good day. There might have been bits that weren't great, but in general, yesterday was a good day. So I always start with that. I sometimes say, however, this and that and the other happened, and then go back to the positives, just because writing the negative stuff down gets it out your head, stops it replaying. So I always do that. Then I pull an oracle card for myself every single day, just so I know where I am, where I'm on track, what I need to do. And then I do, not very much, but I do a bit of yoga because that just puts my body in a better place. And that is my morning routine.
I love
And
that.
that's non-negotiable. If I've got to be out early, I get up earlier.
Love this. So this is like your foundational piece to start your day, and nothing's going to interrupt it. And so that conviction of knowing that it serves you, that
Yeah.
it's a non-negotiable. I love that. I love that. And what would you say is your favorite part of being an entrepreneur? Like what is it that you love so much about this?
I love helping people. I just adore helping people. And also it gives me more freedom. You know,
Yes, it's
I've worked in, well, we ran a bar here in Spain and I had no time at all for anything. And so for me, time freedom is very important now.
I agree. Um, Another question that comes up a lot of times when women are wanting to build a business, they go and share it with their family and closest friends, and it's not always well received. So, did you have to go through any of that yourself? And how did you decide to choose you and not let the opinions of others sway you?
Okay, so first of all, I didn't tell family members that aren't spiritually aware because what I do is, very woo-woo. And like my in-laws didn't know that I saw spirit. So, it would be, they do now because I read my book. And my daughter had to explain it to them.
It's out there.
It's out there. And I have an aunt and uncle who, again, didn't know what I did until very recently. But then there's other people that are other relatives, other aunts and cousins and things who are, some weren't aware, but they were open. So I was picky about who I told what I was doing.
Mhm.
They probably saw it on Facebook, but I was
Yeah.
still didn't, and I don't push what I do on anyone. I wait for people to come to me.
Yes, yes. I think this will be an interesting question related to the fact that we're speaking so much about energy. Do you believe that you can manifest your desires? And how do you personally do this? Let's say you want to, I don't know, you have a bigger goal that you want. How do
Yes,
you go about that?
yes, I do believe we can manifest what we want.
Yes.
Um, One of the major things I do, and I've done probably for about 10 years, is create a vision board every year. And 9 times out of 10, everything comes to pass. So, for example, I've had writing on my vision board for quite a few years. And every time I've had writing on my vision board, I've been published in a book. So this last year, not this year, last year, I put on my vision board that I wanted a publishing contract. Right. So I shifted it, not
Yes.
from writing, but I wanted a publishing contract. And last year I got a publishing contract.
Amazing. And when you have this vision board, do you just create it once, kind of see it and know you want this, or do you look at it every day, visualize every day? Do you have more that goes into the manifesting process, or do you just say, I claim this and let it go and trust that it's going to show up?
I saw my wall is there.
So you just see it every day. And so
I see it every day.
subliminally, it's always somehow getting in there.
Yeah. But
Okay.
it is important to let it go,
Yes.
because and how I do a vision board is it's the feeling I want to experience. Okay, the publishing contract was a physical thing, right? But it's, don't attach to how, but attach to how you want to feel.
Yes, yes, exactly. And that's actually, as a money coach, that's another thing. Money is paper without meaning it
It's
really.
energy. It's
It's
energy. It's
exactly. And so it's
exchange.
the what you assign to it, right?
Yeah,
Like what is your reason for wanting to earn that money? Because whatever it is that you want has a feeling that you want to feel. And if you tap more into that feeling of what that result is going to be, that's where you're going to, be able to connect with that
yeah.
energy, right? That you're talking about. I love that. Love that. Okay, comfort zones. So, it takes a lot to get out of your comfort zone starting a new business. I know one of the biggest things that all of us go through is that, oh my goodness, I have to go online and speak to strangers. Like it's not the old fashioned business days. Now it's a whole new platform of just showing up. Um, and some, really struggle with this. So, what can you say to the benefits and how to get out of your comfort zone?
Okay, so because as a child, I was so much happier living with spirit. I would hide if the doorbell went. I was terrified of people. And I guess I was probably about 12. I made a decision that I was not going to be terrified anymore. I was just going to do it. And since, I don't know what happened, something must have happened to make me make that decision. But since that point, I've been pushing through my comfort zone all the time, and to the point where I thought I didn't have one anymore.
Mm.
I found out I did because pressing the button to send my manuscript to the publisher was the hardest thing I think I've ever had to do. I was literally forcing my finger to press return. And it's like, okay, still got
Yeah.
comfort zone then, but that is not going to stop me. Right.
Yes.
So it's just like, you have to, I mean, there's a book about it, isn't there? Feel the fear and do it anyway.
Oh, one of my favorite books. I've read it many times.
Yeah.
It will take all the fear away. Feel the fear and do it anyway. If I remember correctly, it's Susan Jeffers that wrote it.
Yeah, I think
Susan
you're right.
Jeffries or Jeffers, something like that. It's one of the best books I ever read. Feel the
Yeah.
fear and do it anyway, right? There's
And
no wrong
if you're
choice, basically. There's just
if
a
you
different experience.
yeah, if you're struggling, right? Why do you want? Because if you're struggling with your comfort zone, there's got to be a reason that you're in the place where you're on the edge of your comfort zone, right? So, what is the place you want to get to,
Yeah. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
How important is it to you?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
then you just have to do it.
Yes.
You go, okay, how important is it to me? Okay, I want to have a business because I want to have time freedom. I want to have financial freedom. Okay, but I need to do that. And so you've got to do it.
Yeah. And we often magnetize that the potential bad results are so big they never happen. You worry for nothing. It's like stop worrying, start living. Dale Carnegie, right? Yeah. So
Yeah,
but basically ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? You either succeed or you learn. That's both positive, right? You
yeah,
never fail. You just learn, and then you maybe do it better the next time, or you get to know yourself a little bit better and you tweak it. And I mean, you don't become an Olympic ice skater on day one, so stop giving yourself such a hard time. Just go
yeah,
for it. So
yeah.
yeah.
So I another story about that. I was asked to start running spiritual circles, and I hadn't even been to one. But at the time, all my oracle cards were saying, just say yes, work it out afterwards. And
Hmm.
so I
Something, and that
did.
will appear. Yep.
Yeah. So I just said yes. And then a friend of mine who has run circles in the past, I was like, how do I do this? Do I just follow my intuition and da 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 da? And she's like, yes, that's exactly what you do. Okay. That first circle, the meditation, no one in the history of the world has meditated so fast. Because I was like, because I was so nervous, right?
Yes.
Now we're 3 years on and I run two and I'm just starting one online, right?
Oh,
So
see.
it's it's totally changed and I love running circle because it keeps me learning because I don't know everything. Uh,
Yes.
and it keeps me practicing the oracle cards as well, which is a skill I don't want to go rusty. And
Yeah.
I meet these most amazing people.
Yes.
But if I
Yes.
hadn't have said yes, if I had got into my head and gone, I don't know how to do it, then that wouldn't be here 3 years on.
Yeah, and that intuition kicks in too, and you just have to trust it too. Like, I mean, it's such a beautiful life with so much expansion in all different categories of your life. So, just and to be complacent, it's boring. You always want to be stretching, learning, growing, helping more, doing more, being more, right? Because that leans into the idea of let us reach our potential. And that doesn't mean we know what our full potential is, but we at least should make the effort and try and be, really, really fully present in our life. And that comes back into the good energy again. Set yourself up with positive energy so that you can do all these things and grow and just expand and reach potentials, right? So
Yeah.
my last question for you is, what is your number one tip? If you could only choose one, what is your number one tip for women starting or growing their business?
Follow your intuition.
Mm,
That's it. Because your intuition will not lead you wrong.
yes,
The
yes,
problem comes when we don't listen to it because it might not be the easiest path,
yeah, that's right.
right? And why all the times in the past when I've not listened to my intuition, I've gone for what is going to be an easier life,
Mm,
turns out to be way harder than if I'd just gone, no, my intuition's saying this. Yeah, maybe a bit tricky right now, but it's going to serve me right in the long run.
Yeah, I love that. And it's kind of like this, you only need to know the step in front of you, maybe a couple steps in front of you, and then you'll figure out how to respond and what the next step should be. And this also goes for those, I think this is important and what we talk about here. A lot of women are like, "Oh, I can't do this business. I don't know all I need to know to be the perfect coach or whatever it might be." And I'm hoping you'll all have heard this before because it's said now quite often. You only need to be a couple steps ahead of your, let's say, client, because then you're still leading them forward. Okay. So you don't need to
And
be the
also,
encyclopedia and library of everything and know and have all the certificates and all of the mastery and this, that, and the other thing. You'll grow over time, but you just need to be a couple steps ahead of yourself. Just look in front of what you need to do and then in front of your clients that you know that you can help.
and there's no one person who's perfect, right?
Yeah.
We're all perfect in our imperfection.
Yes,
If we wait
absolutely.
for the right time, then we're always waiting.
That's
When,
right.
when
That's
I moved to
right.
Spain, because obviously I'm English, um, everyone
Love
said,
the
"Oh,
accent.
you're so lucky." It wasn't anything to do with luck. We made a decision and we did it,
That's right.
right?
Right.
But
Exactly.
no one knows everything.
Yes.
No one knows everything. They
Yeah.
just find the resources they need as they need them. Every week I do a topic of the week for Circle. I don't know everything about, enough to do 3 years worth, right?
Yes.
But I
Yeah.
learn. I'm like, okay, any ideas what you want to look into
Mhm.
next week? My Circle guys give me a topic, and then if I don't know anything about it, I research.
I love this. And it also makes you and all of us more relatable when we're not so polished. We're human beings, like you said, having a human experience, and there's really no mastery in any of that. There's just real authenticity, and that's what we are looking for. So, I love this. Okay, so before we sign off, can you just go ahead and share your business website one more time? And thank you so much for the conversation on energy and how to access the good energy.
Yeah, so my website is samangelguide.com. And as I said, I will be running a online spiritual circle if anyone fancies joining.
Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing on this topic that isn't maybe as mainstream of a conversation, but when we really bring it back in, we all understand energy and the kind of energy we want to live our lives in, and that's good, positive, upbeat, powerful, good vibes, right?
Yeah.
So and you can be responsible to create that positive energy in your life in all different aspects. So go ahead and check out Sam's work on her website, and basically just believe in yourself, believe it, trust your intuition, be authentic. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. If your heart is in the right place to want to help others and you know that you have something that can help them, that's all. Just keep moving forward, keep growing, keep getting better, and just stay in that, good vibe, positive energy, because people pick up on it. And, it's just a joy to be around that kind of, yeah, energy. That's what I can say. So until next time, you go follow your dreams, and I will be back soon with another great success story. Bye for now.